into 3, 2, 1. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, the Lo-Fi Horror Guy. Welcome to another episode of the Lo-Fi Horror Guys Growing on You Live. Today, we're going to have my dude, Matthew Ninaber. He played Psycho Gorman. Honestly, I don't know if you consider it 2020, 2021. It started hitting, the film fests and whatnot in 2020, but it might be my favorite thing from 2020 and 2021. The movie is absolutely amazing. I can't say enough about that movie. Psycho Gorman, Steven Kostanski, the Astro 6 guys, I've been in love with their work since they have, since I've been introduced to their stuff. So this was kind of like the quintessential just gold moment for the Astron 6 gang. And being able to have on my dude Matthew, who played Psycho Gorman in the movie, is going to be really, really cool. So I can't wait. Him and I are going to get into, some of his personal interests. We're going to talk about, things within film himself. He's been in the game for a little while. He's a director. He's actor. He's done, all sorts of, different angles within the film community. So talking to him about those things, some of his personal interests, and then, getting the gig of old PG himself playing the role, some of the fun that came along with that. So I'm really, really excited. Once Matthew gets on here, we're going to get this bad boy rolling. Matt, how's it going, man?
Hey, how you doing?
Man, so good, man. Thank you very much for your time today. This is awesome. I appreciate you coming on.
No worries, no worries.
Sick. So look, here on Growing on You Live, basically I have two, fun little icebreaker questions for you. The rest of the interview is about you and your craft. And then I have one finale that, I'm going to throw your way. And if you're all comfy and set in, we're going to get this bad boy started, man.
Take it away.
Sick. All right. First of all, my wife and I do some traveling, right? I wanted to ask you, as far as if we were coming through Waterloo, Ontario, what would be a local restaurant that we would have to stop at? Something that's a favorite of yours, and what would we have to try there?
That is so there's I live in like a Mennonite town, so it's like all bakeries, home cooked, really good food. But there's this cafe called Rumble Tums, and they have these amazing almond tarts. They are so delicious. So that's one, and then we have a smokehouse right across the street, which has the best brisket and pulled pork ever. So get your pulled pork, get your brisket, get a beer, and then afterwards go to Rumble Tom's, get yourself an almond tart, and you are living the dream. And then grab a horse and buggy as it goes by. So yeah, that's what I would suggest. So yeah,
man, that sounds amazing. Dear Lord, I don't know why you never leave there. Shit,
I don't. So everything.
Nice. All right.
Yeah.
So next, I wanted to ask, if you and I were making a horror movie, I said, Matthew, look, I need you to come up with a villain. We're gonna make any type of horror movie that you want. What would we come up with? A werewolf, a giant insect? What kind of horror movie will we have?
Oh man, I would try to rip off Lobo. That's what I would do. The DC character. That's actually, Lobo was one of the people I looked at when we were doing PG, just to try to figure out, the intergalactic motorcycle and all that kind of stuff. So, but I would like to do something fun and something with a little bit of character. But yeah, something along that line.
Nice. I love that. And I see that too. Now that you mentioned that, that's kind of weird. I mean, I never thought of it until now, but I
well, he's an unknown. He kind of reminds me of like a Wolverine meets. Anyway, like I've always liked Lobo, so I thought if we could bring a little bit of him into PG, but I'd love to do a movie with him or something like that. But that'd be amazing.
Okay, love it. So now, early on in life, tell us about, what programs or movies did you enjoy? What were some things that kind of, formed the idea possibly for, you getting involved in film?
Man, I have such a wide breadth of movies because, like, Life is Beautiful is an Italian film that I just absolutely love. That is not anywhere near the horror world, but when I saw that movie, I was like, I want to make movies. Braveheart, Gladiator were those like awesome films where it's just like rise up and fight. But then there was other movies like Terminator 2, man. Like when Arnold Schwarzenegger goes down, he's giving his thumbs up. I'm bawling. And Jurassic Park. I remember Jurassic Park was the first movie I watched in the theaters, and I was sitting on my parents' lap, and I kneed them in the face when that Velociraptor comes, and you have to pull your legs up in the vent. I just like these are movies that just were so cool and so fun. And then I started just watching everything, and just I don't know. So I just absorb movies all the time, whatever. I don't really have a genre that I stick in.
Sure.
And yeah.
Okay, nice. Yeah, and that's kind of the idea with it too. As far as being younger and not necessarily in horror, but film in general. Like you were
Totally.
mentioning,
Totally.
and those are some great inspirations.
Yeah, yeah. No, I remember when Buffy the Vampire first came out, and I wasn't supposed to be watching it,
Oh,
and
man.
I was like, I was a babysitter. I was just like, this is crazy, just like hiding me around the corners watching that, and so yeah, I've just
Nice,
liked
I love
everything.
it. Okay. Now your latest movie, PG Psycho Gorman. We're gonna get
Yes,
further into that, but one of the things that kind of stuck out to me was how it embodied so many great things from the 80s and the 90s, and one thing in particular that came to mind was the idea of cover art, poster art. Back then we didn't have YouTube for trailers. What
yeah.
were some movies that you were drawn to by the cover art or poster art?
Um, I don't even know if I can answer that question because, to be honest, the world that Steven was creating was something like I grew up with Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles, but I never was exposed to the amount of anime and the things that he was into. So, to be honest, a lot of this was a new adventure for me. Like, I went down the
Oh,
Steven
okay.
rabbit hole of stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this stuff existed. And just like watching, I'm like, what else can I watch? What else can I watch? And so yeah, the art actually just introduced me to a whole new world, which I've been so appreciative of,
Okay.
and yeah, so.
Did you have anything that he had introduced you to through this process that kind of just threw you for a complete loop,
Um,
movies wise?
Movie wise, even his film, like I didn't even know. But I don't know if anyone's watched. Like obviously people watched The Void, but I didn't know about The Void. And I went back and started watching his work, and then started looking into some of the things that he's done with claymation, and just getting open up to that world, and then just seeing the effects. Like when you walk into Steven's apartment, it is like row after row of villain, of inspiration, of things he's created, of masks, of
Right.
abandoned partway through, and you're like, this is Willy Wonka of the horror world. Like this is crazy. Like his kitchen's not for food; it's for making like these like claymation guys, and he's like, yeah, this is this. I can't even say what it is, but he's like, this is the story, and this is what he's doing. I'm like, how do you think of this stuff? Like this is just so crazy. So, but there's that project there. Then over here is this project, and I remember actually when he was asking me, interviewing me to be PG, he's like, who's your favorite villain? I'm sitting in his apartment, and I'm like, I have to come up with something good. Like, I have to come up with something great, something that's just going to justify this. And I froze. I had nothing. I'm looking around. I see Michael. I see Jason. I see Freddy Cougar. I see all these great Venom. I'm seeing all these guys. I'm like, who do I pick? Who do I pick? And then for some reason, I just said Phantom of the Opera. And I don't know why I said Phantom of the Opera. He's like, Phantom of the Opera. I'm just like, and I had to justify. Here I am just justifying why Phantom of the Opera is the best villain of all time. I made this BS reason and like, so anyway, so
Oh man.
I was just brought into a whole other world, and yeah, it's just been a journey, a mind trip. So yeah.
That's funny. I mean, that's certainly not the worst villain you could have chose for sure.
No,
I mean, that's
there's
you know,
other, yeah. I could have.
there's some credibility behind that still, but
Spider-Man 3's Venom was the worst. Yeah, I could
right,
have.
right, nice. All right, bring us back to some of your first gigs in film, and maybe some notable moments that you had to learn from with those gigs, that may have helped you in further projects, even recently.
Yeah, so like my journey's been a mixed bag. So, like since grade 10, I'm like I want to be a filmmaker, I want to be an actor, I want to do it all. So I've always been jumping on sets in different roles. I've done audio for movies, I've done acting in movies, I've done the cinematography, directing, whatever I can do to be on a set of a movie. I love the process. So the bigger productions you do, like I remember doing a little bit of stunts for Nikita, and I was so excited to be on set, and I was just smiling, and the stunt choreographer is just looking, he's explaining this choreography and how's it going, and he just finished doing Spartacus with all these guys, so like really big deal, right?
Hmm.
And here I am just smiling, and he just loses it on me. He's like, "Are you mocking me? Are you mocking me, man? Like, like, do you want to
Oh,
go?" And I'm
oh
like,
God.
"Oh, no, no, no. I'm just happy. I'm just happy to be here. I'm excited." Like
Oh
here I am.
God.
I'm like, "We're making movies, man." And he's just thinking that like, I think he doesn't know what he's doing or whatever it is. I'm like, "No, man, I'm just giddy. Like this is my dream to like make movies." And
Oh my God.
so, but in that moment, I'm like, "Wow, I gotta watch my face on set." Like this smile is like people, are like, "Yeah, you want to fight?" I'm like, "What? No, no."
Yeah.
So,
You're
so
like, now I just
I,
have to play monsters. Like, I gotta hide
yeah,
my
I
face or
gotta
something.
cover this thing, cover this mug, man, because this is like, I guess people want to hit me anyway. So, but I
Oh
just
my
learned
God.
that like people are stressed on set, and you just gotta, watch how you come across. That was a big moment for me, and
Sure.
being in the monster suit. Oh my gosh, I always say the only reason I got this gig as PG's because everyone else was smart enough to know the monster suit is literally the worst thing you could ever be in. Like it is
Oh wow.
horrible. It is, yeah, you can't pee, you can't use the bathroom, therefore you don't want to eat, and you're just sweating. It's like wearing whale's blubber, and then it's just
Oh my
hot and
God.
sticky and itchy, and you can't off your chest. And it's like,
Oh.
oh. So, anywho, it's a journey. It's something else. So,
Yeah. Wow.
yeah.
Okay. Now you had mentioned as far as like early, back even being young and being interested in film. Did you do any
Yeah.
classes or did you take theater or did you do any of those things?
Like I was in community stuff and I did some stuff in Toronto, like some acting classes. Acting classes just mess you up. They actually, they're probably the worst thing for you to do because you just end up learning a bunch of bad things that actually don't work and still unlearning that stuff. I think the best thing is just get in front of the camera, record stuff, figure out what works, figure out your tone, and then you just keep going and going and going until something clicks. But
Oh,
um,
okay.
yeah, I've actually tried to. For me, doing classes don't work. I like listening to lectures. I like listening to like some of the greats just talk about what works for them. But I find a lot of people who are doing classes, and this is just my experience, are people who just didn't do well in the industry. So
Oh,
learning from
okay.
them is not always the best idea, right? So yeah,
Okay. Now, and you had mentioned as far as, having different, different roles in film as far as stunt work, editing, writing, directing. Do you have any of these roles that you prefer?
I really I really enjoy filming. Like my mom was a photographer, so I grew up with cameras, like shooting
Oh, okay.
film, shooting Polaroids, whatever I could do. So I really enjoy the cinematography. I love directing and I love acting. Well, to be honest, I really do love it all. Like being on set is such a special thing. So that's why I was so happy to be part of this movie. Um, I yeah, I whatever calls for. Like directing is
Okay.
fun, but directing is there's a lot of pressure on
It's
that,
a
and
headache there too.
it's a headache. But being an actor, it's kind of like you show up, you do your thing, and then you're free. And so there's
Hmm.
something nice about that. But yeah,
Okay. What was it, as far as like that drew you with your mom's photography that, got you into, that, or maybe that assisted you, as far as in cinematography?
yeah. Well, I think just having the tools laying around, being able to play around with it. Like I remember, like I had one of the first cameras that came out that actually shot, like it was a digital that actually shot 15-second video clips, and we would just run
Oh.
out and make action films together or make little zombie movies, like in high school. Just complete crap, like awful, awful stuff. Like I remember doing Evanescence music video. We built a coffin and we poured hairspray on it and lit it on fire. Like we're just doing stupid things, man. But like it was so much fun and filming in graveyards. I don't know. Like I just like to create, and I think
Sure.
regardless the cool thing about, making movies, it's such a collaborative thing. You get together with a group of people that you like and you want to hang out with, and then you create something together. And there's probably nothing better than that. So it's like a mini family actually, probably the hardest part of PG was nobody knew who I was. So, because I got there before everybody else, and then I left after everybody else. And I remember my call time was halfway through the day halfway through production. I had a late call time. I show up, and they're not letting me on set. They're like, "Who are you, man? This is a closed set. Like, what are you doing?" I'm like, "What? I thought they're joking at first." But the guy's like, "No. He's like, who are you?" And I'm like, "I'm PG. I'm the man in the suit. Like, do I have to like gruff at you?" Like, anyway. So I was like, wow. But it was something else.
Damn, wow. Okay. Now, within film, do you have some things that are just, maybe like bucket lists, things that you want to check off you've done some incredible stuff as far as, like you've said, with writing and directing different things, but are there maybe certain actors or actresses or directors that you'd like to work with?
Oh yeah. Like I did a commercial way back in the day. It was for 5 Hour Energy. And because of that, somehow Hugh Jackman's wife saw the commercial, and then I got to see Hugh Jackman, and I got to hang out with him for the day. I was like, oh my gosh. And like, I would say there's just certain actors I'm like, if I could make a movie with them, that would be amazing. So back in the day, I had Robin Williams on my list, and like, that was a hard one, because like, so many movies that he did just hit home just for like the comedy, the laughter. Again, I have a wide breadth. I go like super dark with my movies, but then I like the super light, like the whole breadth of it. And so Robin Williams was a huge one that I wrote a script and I wanted him to be part of. And I actually got an audition to be on the show with him, The Crazy Ones, which I was like close to getting on there. I was like, this is it. And like so many things, you get so close, and then no. So that was a big bummer. And but yeah, I'd love to do something with Hugh Jackman. Seeing him in Prisoners, that movie for me was so good, and he did such a great job. And I have like a little Rolodex of people that I'm like, man, if I could work with them someday, that would be amazing. Sean Connery was one of them, but obviously that ship is gone. And to be honest, I took a little bit of, I don't know if you know Dragonheart, like the goal of like what he did there. I'm like, there's some similarities in PG to like that, being stuck with a human and like wanting to have some of the theatrics. Like if you look, PG starts pretty big in the movie, and then he gets to like a begruntled grandpa part where we're just like, like just dejected. So kind of like, playing around with that. So and now so touching on PG, this bad boy came out this last Friday, has been getting some absolutely amazing buzz, just tons of different people takes on it, and lots of fun with it. But I wanted to ask you, with fans lovingly describing PG, saying it's like this movie and this movie had a child, what have been some of your favorites that you've heard as far as comparisons? Oh man, there's just so many. Like, and now I don't remember if I said it or somebody else said it, but somebody was like, it's like Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles meets Terminator 2. Like, I just like, they're all right. There's just, I actually remember like, Andy was talking about it. It's like, I lit this, like the warehouse scenes is supposed to be Ninja Turtles. It's supposed to be Ninja Turtles. I'm like, and when you rewatch, I'm like, oh yeah, there's a lot of like that vibe to this film. So I just like that it's bringing people back to like a simpler, happier time, especially like, with the crap that's going on, just, a reminder that life is pretty good and going down the nostalgia trip, but at the same time, having its own twist. Again, it's like, if an adult never stopped watching Power Rangers, but then brought their adult humor to the movie, you know what I mean? Like all those things that they don't let you put into a movie, you're now allowed to put into a film. And that's how like I've tried to describe it to people so that they're prepared. Because for some people, this is a completely out there movie that they're like, what is this? And again, it's like, it's a cool introduction into a world that some people may not know anything about. So
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, like I'm in Mennonite town. I got buggies going down the front. So you have this like juxtaposition, right? And now I have like I stole one of the heads, and like for Halloween I run around as PG, and all the other parents are dressed like Mario, Luigi, and they're looking at me like, you're terrifying children. What's wrong with you? I'm like, oh, I know, and I get joy from this. So.
Oh my God, that is awesome. I mean, and touching on the humor of the movie too. Adam Brooks, his character and the delivery that he puts into it. There's
Fantastic.
I had rented it just because I'm going to pick up the Blu-ray and whatnot. But in the times that I watched it from my 48-hour rental or whatever, there was times I had to rewind because I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even hear that from this last, the last viewing, or I didn't even notice this from the last one. So it's very, very fun. There's lots to catch. There's lots of parts that you have to maybe even rewind back because you're like, did I hear that?
Did I hear that? And there's so much going on. All these like creatures that you're like, oh my gosh, this guy's really funny. Yeah, you can watch it like with different eyes so many times and pick up different things. And he did a fantastic job of just bringing like some humor. And I don't know if heart's the right word because he's such a lazy. His character is such a lazy bum.
Yeah, right. But he does in a weird way. I mean, you kind of feel bad for him.
You do. You're just like, oh, you shouldn't because he's lazy. But you're like, oh, so. Yeah. No, he brought a lot of humor to it, which is great. Him and Zombie Cop. Oh my gosh, those were the hardest. Those were the hardest days to stay in character because I'm just looking at him and like he would just keep going. Like in between takes, he's still doing stuff. And I remember it wasn't even in the script that he shot himself. He just did that randomly in one take, and everyone's just like, "You got to put that in a movie. You got to put that in a movie." So he just did so many supporting actors just brought this funny world, like the Alien Council. I'm like, we gotta make that. Just needs to be a movie. Like those guys are funny. So.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Tell us about, so the initial audition process for Psycho Gorman. How were you introduced to the script?
Yeah, so my agent called me and said, hey, really cool director is doing this wacky project. And I kept on bugging her. I'm like, I don't want to just be playing military roles, or I don't want to be the cop. I don't want to be the fireman. Like, come on, there's got to be something else out there. And she's like, this is just something else. So I got a little bit of the script, and it was that, is that fear that I smell? Like that whole section. And I'm like, all right. Now, when you read just that, you think you're signing on to a horror movie. It sounds like this like huge theatrical Saturday morning dude that's just going to rip everyone apart. And at the time, they didn't have Mimi's character in there. They just want to see, can this guy be big and scary?
Okay.
So I'm like, all right, here we go. So then I did a couple takes, sent it to them, and then I was actually at the very end of the audition process. So they saw person after person after person after person, and they were not getting what they wanted. And Jesse, the producer, saw my tape. He's like, that's PG. That's PG. And so then I got to Steven's place, and it was sitting there with the producers again, looking at all the craziness in his apartment, making up stories about, Phantom of the Opera, trying to justify myself there. And at the end of the day, I just think really what it came down to is most people just knew how bad the suit was. So they're like, no, I don't want to do this movie. And secondly, I think one of the hardest things they had is everyone was going full villain with PG, whereas PG isn't supposed to be like this gobbling, like, orc, like, who's like, do you know what I mean? He's not supposed to. If you go too far with it, it just loses it, where he needs some humanity to it. And I think that's kind of bringing in like that inspiration from Dragonheart and Sean Connery characters, and trying to bring something that had a little bit more heart to it. That was the balance that I think got me the role. I could be completely wrong. It could just be that nobody else auditioned and they're just trying to make me feel good. Who knows, right? Who knows? So,
oh my God.
But then when I got the whole script, after they're like, yeah, you're PG, I read this, I'm like, this thing's bonkers. Like, this is nuts. What is this film? And I just to be honest, the first read through, I'm like, I don't think I get this. I don't, because it makes fun of itself. There's scenes where like you have this epic fight scene, and then you cut to Owen, and he's just like, how long is this going to go on for? It's just like, what? But it constantly doesn't take itself serious, but the characters take themselves seriously. So it's a weird bag of treats. So,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Very. So now, initially getting on set, you know, after you got the part and you're coming in to start, you know, shooting the first, you know, few scenes,
Yeah.
what were some of the first things, the first pieces, you know, set pieces that you were seeing when you were, you know, that really painted, you know, what Psycho Gorman was going to be?
Yeah, so you go in and they did the full body cast of me, and they showed me pictures of what PG was going to look like. I'm like, okay, cool. And then when I finally saw PG, he was different than what they imagined. They made him look a lot scarier, a lot bigger. So getting into the suit, that was like the first set piece of like, wow, this is who PG is. And trying this on, I'm like, this guy is cool. Like, this guy is cool. And then the first scene we filmed was the warehouse scene that with the people who are the squatters and that whole segment. So that was so much fun to film. And it was like the middle of winter, freezing cold, but in the suit I'm really warm. So I'm like, hey, this isn't bad. Like I'm sweating a little bit. I'm like, everyone else is like parkas and like this is pretty sick. And and we filmed that scene. It goes great. And then we did the green screen stuff. And that's when I really got hit with, oh my gosh, this suit is a boiling. Like it's so hot. It's like wearing like 3 sleeping bags.
Man.
And because I'm inside the building and I just start pouring sweat. I'm like, yo, I don't think I can do this, to the place that like I overheated and like got heat exhaustion. And I looked at them. I'm like, guys, I think I'm gonna have like diarrhea or something. Like I'm not doing well. Like I'm passing out. And then they're like, are you sure you okay? Like, what do you need? I'm like, I think I need out of the suit, or else I'm gonna crap in the suit. And they're like, don't crap in the suit because this is it. Like if I ruin this suit, this is what I'm putting on every. So they ripped it off just barely in time, and they got me some water and they like electrolytes, and then finally it felt better. But after that, I went on to a very strict no eat, just sip a little bit of water, and don't move unless I need to move. So you'll see so many pictures that people have taken that are posted online, and you just see me like sitting there like dejected, dead. That's just where I went. If I wasn't in scene, I would find somewhere and I would just go inside my head and I would just disappear. I'm like, go somewhere else. Did not talk to anybody. I remember Adam coming up. He's like, yeah, I was in this werewolf movie. And like, werewolf was just pissed off if anyone talked to him. Are you like that? I'm like, yeah, that's me. Don't talk to me.
Oh, God.
I'm like, I need to go into this zone to get through this. Because like 30 days in that suit, you go to a dark place. I remember emailing my agent. I'm like, what the F did you get me into? Nobody warned me. Nobody told me. And I was going to do a video just explaining how bad it is to be in the suit. And I don't say that for people to pity me, but if you ever are going to do a monster movie, you need to know that this suit is not fun. Like the first 30 minutes, like, oh, this is fun. It's like Halloween. But then after that, you're like, mother, I've been tricked. And then like 30 days of it, you're like, I'm going to kill somebody. I'm going to kill somebody.
Oh my God.
But then after seeing the movie, I'm like, all right, it's worth it. But I get such appreciation for like movies like Hellboy or Pan's Labyrinth or Shape of Water, where people are wearing these suits and creating such a great performance, and the misery that they go through to make that happen. It's just like, okay, I appreciate you. Thank you for doing that. So,
yeah, absolutely. So now I've seen a couple other interviews, and you mentioned earlier, you know, you having the helmet, the mask of Psycho Gorman. But if you could have had one other piece from that movie to go along with your helmet there, what would you have liked to have kept from the movie with all the absolutely wild stuff that was in it?
There'd be 2 things I'd want. First off, the guy that's in the jar, that little head, that's in the Alien Council, the one that just opens up his mouth. I want that dude. Like, if I could have him on my shelf, that would be so cool. And lastly, I want the meat sword. I try to sneak out the meat sword. I've tried to grab it so many times, and yeah, I can't get it.
It just wasn't happening.
It didn't make it into the movie, but there's actually a scene where I start loading the meat sword with fingers and it shoots out like a shotgun. And we didn't get it on the day. And anyway, so the meat sword was just like, it looked like a turkey. I'm like, what is this thing? But yeah.
Yeah.
Put that up
Okay.
there.
That's
You know,
funny.
Conan
Yeah.
the
That
Barbarian has his sword. I got my sword. So, yeah.
nice. That would be sick, of course. Now, and as far as you mentioned, with it being a tough shoot and everything, and kind of having to find your own place. It sounds like you had some time where you were pulling some pranks on some people while you were in the suit as well. What were some
Yeah.
what were some good ones that you pulled off?
So, my whole goal was just to just distract myself. And obviously, being in a suit like this, if you don't know that it's there, is a terrifying suit. So we're filming in this industrial park, and I just went outside and I'm not supposed to, but I'm like, screw it. I need to do something to entertain myself. And there was just this one guy, and he's just throwing stuff into this garbage bin. And I'm like, I'm going to terrify him. So he's doing his thing and all that kind of stuff. And I just stand there. I just stand behind him. And finally, he goes to reach to grab something, and you just see him stop. He just sees something like out of the corner of his eye, but he's afraid to look. He's like, "What is this?" And he looks at me, he's just like, "Ah!" And like just watch it. And you don't have to do it. You don't have to jump at them. They just see it. It's just like the terror.
Yeah,
happens. Right. And old people just walking down the street. And my goal was just to sit there as still as possible and just follow them with my eyes and just like make it as uncomfortable as possible. And like this lady just walking, she's just turning like, and they just picks up her, and I don't know, so, and I scared every crew member. I would hide in corridors and just, again, you don't have to do anything. You just stand there, and then they just like jump and die, and some of them would just fall into the ground, and it was just a lot of joy. So yeah.
Oh my God, that is funny. As far as with the relationship in the movie with the kids and with Psycho Gorman, with you being a parent yourself in real life, what advantages came with the role as far as sharing the screen with the two of the two of the kids? Let's see, Mimi and Luke, right?
Yeah, I think.
Okay. What were some advantages that came from you just being a parent?
One, just it's easy to talk to kids. I think, like I'm like, yeah, you guys are like just a little bit older than my kids, so be able to talk to them, find out what they're into, and being able to just build off-screen like chemistry with them was pretty easy. Nita's from the East Coast, I'm from the East Coast, so we like bonded on that. And I think just for performance-wise, PG is kind of like that uncle that just gets stuck babysitting somebody else's kids. And I've been there a couple times, and you're just like, man, like why am I here? Why am I stuck doing this? And just to bring that energy into it, it always bugs me when I see people in movies interacting with kids. I'm like, man, you don't spend any time with kids. Like that's not how it happens.
Yeah, right. Like
it's
a natural.
It's just not natural. So I feel like it was very easy for me just to slide into that, and then gives me more time to focus on these weird words like Gygax and the Council of Obsidian and worms on the, like, just this dialogue that Stephen wrote was just craziness. So it was good that I was able to just be able to focus on hitting those. So
yeah. Okay. And I would have to assume, with being a parent too, that some of the frustration that was coming out of PG was a natural,
it's all there. It's all built up. Yeah. Easy to tap into.
That was one thing, kind of doing a little bit of research. I'm like, oh, this guy's got kids. No wonder that frustration's
the frustration,
natural shit.
Like, no problem.
Nice.
Just those times where your son does something, you're like, what the heck's wrong? Like,
right. Yeah, that's funny. With all the absolutely wacky practical effects and, some of the gore that was brought on by Psycho Gorman, what was some of your uses of the gore in the movie? Or practical effects, I should say.
Sorry, say that again.
With all the practical effects and, some of the gore and some of the things that Psycho Gorman did with punching people in the head and, exploding, what were some of your favorite uses in the movie?
So, like the scene where the Psycho Gorman rips up the heads, like that was pretty fun. Just how they did that behind the scenes to that. Heck, when they go full Power Rangers and I'm in the council and they're like hooking me up with little sparklers, I'm like, this is such cheese, but so much fun. You know what I mean? And everything exploding around you. That was a really fun scene. Probably one of the worst scenes though. There's two. There's one that like I actually got kicked in the head. I'm like, thank goodness. Like in the outside fight scene. They do like this flip. The son does this flipperoo and then kicks you with the other foot as he passes by. So that one, I'm like, man, I took that in the face. The tombstone was in the face. And then I got whacked by somebody else in the face. I'm like, I'm glad this is padded because these would start hurting after a while. Yeah, but there's one scene where there's the bucket of blood, and they have like, I don't know, 100 gallons of blood hooked up to this dude. And Steven's like, all right, I want you, when you get hit by this, it's going to look really good if you don't hide from it. So turn into it and just like take it in the face. I'm like, take it in the face? You want me to take it in the face? And the blood just goes in my mask, and then it goes all up the face, and then it just starts pouring all the way down. The rest of the day, I was just like this sponge, and for the rest of the shoot, it was always wet inside of this suit because it couldn't dry it out. So, but that was a funny gag. So, yeah,
yeah. That's rough to have to deal with though for the rest of the shoot as well.
It's all good. It's all good. So you start forgetting about things. It's like, oh, it was such a good time. But
right. Now you had mentioned, as far as I'd gotten in touch with this, and you had mentioned a newer project that you're working on that Steven had worked on with you and might have created something for.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about that?
So it's a working title right now, but as soon as the pandemic hit, I was like, oh, everything got canceled. I'm like, I'm just going to make a movie. I had shot some stuff earlier in the year, and it was an action film. So I went out and just with a bunch of military dudes and just started blowing stuff up in the forest. And I didn't really have a story, but it looked so cool. And I showed Steven it, and then I started bouncing around ideas with him. And he's like, I have all of your casting, so if you want me to make you like a Resident Evil inspired, cool like villain off of your cast, we could do something. So then we brainstormed some ideas, and yeah, he made me a really cool monster for my film. And then just during the lockdown, it's just been plugging away, working at this, and trying to redeem 2020 and make something of it. So it's been really cool, and just having a blast again, just making something. And then thank goodness, like Steven helped me out so much with this monster. So I think it was kind of like a thank you for doing PG. So yeah, it's been pretty cool.
Yeah. So is that something that you've started shooting then?
Yeah, we're 70% the way through, and already we showed some samples to some distribution companies, and we just got distribution. So it's yeah, so it's the kind of thing, PG, and this is the things that making 2020 okay. Because other than that, it's just been like, what the heck happened this year? So all these plans out the window, but you adapt and you overcome, and you just make some cool shit. So yeah.
Nice. Now, one last thing I wanted to ask, with all the obvious things with a movie like Psycho Gorman, with effects and actors and actresses and the directors, there's people behind the scenes that make something like that movie as amazing as it was. Who are some people that you can give a shout, either that were on the special effects, that were producers?
So the special effects team, like Chris, Audrey, and Chloe, they ran around, and like, again, you have eight monsters sometimes on set, and they're just powering through, keeping a good attitude. Like, if I again, and everything's changing. It's like, okay, actually we're doing this day because we had rain this day, and everything's just, so it's like them ripping out boxes and just making things work. And I was so impressed with them as a makeup team. They would get inside some of the monster suits to make it happen. I remember Chloe, she had to be brainster, whatever that brain. Yeah. And the actress comes out and kicks the brain, and she got kicked right up the keister, like right up. It was like a straight up kick to the butt. She's like, she's like bruised tailbone. She's like, I never want to get in that suit again. But again, she's getting back into that suit, and she's the makeup artist, and she's just making it happen. And the makeup team really just made, like, whatever needed to get done. They did it with such a great attitude. They made me feel great. Getting out of the suit is probably the most disgusting thing. It's like wearing hockey equipment for like 10 days and then opening it up. And every time I'm like, I'm so sorry, guys. But they were just so like, they never made me feel bad. I'm like, I know I smell. And like, anyway. But then the other person I give a shout out to is Jesse. Jesse was the producer. And he's the real PG of this movie. He let us shoot in his house. The backyard is where we filmed the graveyard and digging it up. And he just ripped his house apart. his house was destroyed. Like, I'm telling you, destroyed. Like, I felt so bad. All the film, all the mud, his carpets are just disgusting. And they're like, we need to do a graveyard scene. So he grabs like a tractor and just starts ripping up the backyard. And I'm like, and I'm pretty sure he ripped up his septic bed because it smelled like crap
Oh
the whole
no.
time. I'm like, is
Oh
it me
God.
or is this sludge? Are we in human feces right now? Are we in like, so all those zombie creatures that are in their graves, I'm pretty sure they're rolling around in human poop. So,
Oh.
but Jesse would do whatever he needed to do to make it happen. He's like, okay, if I cut across this field, I can get you guys the equipment faster. And he just rip apart people's property. Got in so much trouble for doing it, but like, he was the real monster PG in a good way, that he would just move mountains. Whatever needed to happen, Jesse would do it. The one day I actually couldn't be in set, I had a death in the family and had to go to a visitation. And so he wore the suit for like everything, and he's just like, dude, I now understand why you're so miserable in this thing, because that was the worst day of my life. But yeah,
Oh,
whatever
man.
Jesse had to do, he did. And if it wasn't for him, PG would not have been made, hands down.
Oh.
Like, I would say he's one of the keystones of this project, and doesn't get enough like shout out. Like, he was in there with Steven building the creatures, learning about everything, and just all the heart, blood, and tears. Like, boom. I
Right
know I'm
there.
not saying this well, but it was yeah. Jesse really did a lot for the movie.
No, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and that's why I asked, because especially a movie like this, where you can get caught up in the effects and different things, as far as the
Yeah.
automatic visuals. But there's so many people that are involved. Even Blitz Berlin, that scored the movie, brings a whole different character
100%.
to the whole thing.
100%. Yeah.
So with so many people, I appreciate the answer, and I appreciate hearing that too, because I mean there's a lot of people that need shout outs that never
Yeah.
get to hear anything out of it.
Totally.
So,
Totally.
sweet. All right, well look, this is wrapping up our interview. I really appreciate. I do have one finale question that I wrote for you, but
All right.
this is your opportunity to let everybody know what you got going on, what's new, and maybe what's coming in 2021.
Yeah, so hopefully we get another PG going. That's the goal. So please keep sharing this movie, telling your friends, make it happen, because we have other stories that we want to tell. And then the other project I have coming is Death Valley. So it's an action adventure film. It's a lot of fun, and hopefully that's done in 2021. And yeah, keep making movies.
Oh man! All right, nice. I love it. All right, so for this finale, I was trying to think of if Psycho Gorman goes and has a sequel of some sort, and they come
Yeah.
back and they say, look, Matthew, we need you to come back. You're gonna be Psycho Gorman, but it's gonna be years later now, and the two kids are gonna grow up. Mimi and Luke, they're gonna grow up. You can pick what one male and female actor do you want to be Mimi and Luke when they're grown up?
Oh my gosh, I want them. I want them. They're already growing up. Nita's
Yeah,
already
touche.
changed. Nita's already like, she couldn't play the role again. She's already like she's getting older. So I honestly think you could just keep the same. I can't imagine acting with anybody else, because
Yeah.
those kids did such a good job,
Oh,
and they came
agree.
so prepared that I just feel that let's just wait. Let's
Yeah.
just wait. And then maybe let's just, before we film them, maybe do the Alien Council, or maybe PG has a brother that just he has to impress. I don't know. So
Okay. No, and I was gonna say something kind of like where it kind of intermingles between the two kids still being
Oh,
involved. But
man.
you know what? I like that answer, and we'll
Yeah.
keep with that, because
Yeah.
they were so much of the spirit of the movie.
They were.
And you can't take anything away from them. So you know
Yeah.
what? We'll go with that answer.
we'll
love
go
it.
with that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool.
All right, Matthew, thank you so much for
Hey,
your
thank
time,
you.
man. This has been amazing. I appreciate it very much, man.
All right. See you later.
All right, you take care. Lo-fi
Bye.
horror guy, Matthew Ninaber. Take care.
He's a lo-fi horror guy. Yeah, he's kind of a guy, but he is so lo-fi, a horror guy. Yeah, baby.